Jaguar fans, y'all remember the Titans? Yeah, them, those Titans. I remember everything, and it's time for some reckoning.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for joining us here on the Locked On Jaguars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one podcast network for sports. I am Tony Wiggins, your host, and we are glad you made us your first listen. Shout out to the everydayers for being here with us each and every day. We appreciate you here on this Friday. Happy belated Thanksgiving to everyone. I hope you really enjoyed your Thanksgiving as well. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. What up to the everydayers once again? You can be an everydayer too. All you got to do is just make sure you don't miss an episode wherever you watch or listen to your podcast. Give you a little bit of a roadmap where we're going today while y'all's belly is full of turkey. I know y'all going back for some leftovers. You got to be, right? All of us do that. All right. At the end of the show, we'll talk about how we need to set the tone for the stretch. In the middle of the show, segment number 2, unfamiliar position for the Jaguars of being in control of their own destiny at this time of year, with the outlook being very positive. And at the very top, the Jaguars control their own destiny. That's exactly where we're going to start today. Y'all can tell I'm not in my normal digs in my office on North Main Street. I'm doing some traveling, but I hope y'all enjoyed the show anyway. Just like yesterday when family and friends and everybody got together to rejoice and eat, Jaguar fans, we're going to all get together again and watch this game Sunday from Nashville. I know there's a contingent of Jaguar fans that are traveling up there. You guys be very safe and be cautious. Don't beat up nobody in the bathroom this time like it happened before. No, but a game against a very familiar foe, and I talked about them being in an unfamiliar position. And what I mean by unfamiliar position, look, basically, the Jaguars aren't used to being in this spot. Normally, 12, 13 weeks in, unfortunately, I'm usually talking about next year. I'm usually talking about the draft. I'm usually talking about how they can actually improve and get better. And while there's some of that obviously is going to continue to be something that we discuss, because you're always perpetually trying to improve your football team. You never arrive, as we can tell by what happened at the trade deadline. There's a little bit of time you can stop and breathe and actually enjoy the stretch run of the season. The Jaguars currently are 6th in the AFC playoff picture. And I know to a lot of people, because Buffalo is barely hanging in there with the Jags. They're right behind the Jags, but now the Chiefs are struggling. Joe Burrow is struggling. Lamar Jackson is struggling. Everybody's trying to lump this into, well, the usual suspects aren't there, and they got a bunch of new people. As if the Jaguars, it almost looks like the Jaguars aren't getting credit for actually earning their place. I'm sure the Patriots at 9-2 or 10-2, whatever their record is, and then the Denver Broncos are going through it even much worse, because instead of people celebrating those teams only having 2 losses that aren't there. And that's the story. The story is that the usual suspects and the usual contenders are all having a rough go at it. So somehow the teams that are like new or that are in this position, it's almost like they ain't supposed to be there, like they're substitute teachers or something. So that's just another thing that, that comes with the territory when you're not in a spot that traditionally you find yourself in. And normally the Jaguars aren't here, but they control their own destiny. At 7-4 with 6 games remaining, they should be favored in 4 of those games, including the one that's going to come up here Sunday against the Titans, since they've only won 1 game. However, I will warn you, this is the National Football League. If you saw the results of the games yesterday on Thanksgiving, Dallas did the unthinkable for 2 weeks in a row, and they beat one of those giants that we're talking about with the Chiefs. Green Bay, even though they probably were the favorite, usually Detroit wins at home on Thanksgiving, and they did not. And then Joe Burrow came back out of nowhere, and all of a sudden he impacted the defense that has actually now played well for the Bengals 2 games in a row. And they made Baltimore Ravens look like they weren't even supposed to be on the same field with them. So it's anybody can get you. And what I'm saying is we remember the Titans. We know who they are. With all due respect, to the late, great Steve McNair, I won't play on his name like that, but they need to pretend that Frank Wycheck, Eddie George, Kevin Dyson, Blaine Bishop, and all of those guys, Chris Dishman, whoever, they need to all. I don't think Dishman even played for the Titans. I think he played for the Houston Oilers, but you know what my point is. My point is you need to pretend just like all of those dudes that caused the Jaguars all of those headaches, even if it was 30 years ago. Even if you got to pretend that they're over there to motivate yourself, then that's what you need to do. And that's just for people that are new to the situation, like the coaching staff and some of the players that don't necessarily understand or don't really know the history of the Titans and the Jaguars. This is just a game that you absolutely cannot lose. The Titans season will be made if they beat the Jaguars and cause the Jaguars to lose any hope at any chance at going to the playoffs. This will make their year. And we just can't have that. We just can't have it. So this is the thing that I was saying all week, that the Jaguars need to focus on their identity and not necessarily be motivated by external things. Just have internal motivation, the me versus me aspect of it. If you play to your standard each and every week, then you won't get beat by a team that is not supposed to be on the field with you. But as we stated before, this is the National Football League, and the Titans have actually played a couple of good teams tough, Houston as well as Chicago, the last couple of weeks. They don't have a permanent fixture at the coaching staff, so there should be an advantage for Jacksonville when it comes to that. They're playing with a rookie quarterback with limited weapons and a porous offensive line. Porous meaning you can go through it real quickly and easily. Still got a couple of real good players on defense, and then they're just at home, man, and they would rather do nothing but to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Games like this has happened before. When the Jaguars have been bad, they beat the Buffalo Bills. It was Urban Meyer's first win. They beat Josh Allen and the Bills. Sometimes teams just can get motivated and get up for you, and then it's still a game of situational football. So I just want them to make sure that they're careful, but remember who this rivalry is, and embrace the fact that this is a game that the fans are looking forward to, regardless of the records of the team. Most of them played in college where they records didn't matter. Like Florida and Florida State will play this weekend. And while both fan bases are ticked off at how their college team is played, you can best believe that 10, 15 minutes before that game starts, everybody's going to be, all right, we're going to put our anger aside for a minute, and we just going to beat our ops, because that's what it is. They're the ops, and you just always want to make sure you never, ever lose to your opposition, especially your chief rival. But in this case, if you're the Jaguars, you have everything to lose, and the Titans have absolutely nothing to lose. But I want the Jaguars to go handle their business and focus on themselves, and even if they win it on a walk-off field goal, like I said last week, just get on the plane and come home victorious. We can debate the merits and all of that stuff of what's wrong, but I'd rather be doing that at 8-4 than 7-5 any day of the week. All right, I'm going to tell you why I believe this is an unfamiliar position for the Jaguars, and it's new to everybody, but that lines up with the fact that there's a new staff and new management also, and a new attitude from Jaguar fans. The Jaguar fans aren't satisfied. They want to be greedy, and greed is good. I got that from a movie. I'll tell you how that applies in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets with your first $5 win If your first $5 bet wins, that is, you get the $300 in bonus bets. So head to FanDuel.com and sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, man, we're moving and grooving here on a Friday edition of Locked On Jaguars, where it is your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen and making us the #1 sports podcast network. Unfamiliar territory. You guys know it. I've been doing it for a number of years, and I know y'all have been doing it too. Normally, week 12, week 13, we're sitting there looking at the future, trying to figure out, mark down, take inventory of all the things you want to keep, all the things you want to get rid of, and then looking around at all of these lists of who's going to be free agents, trying to figure out and pinpoint where the Jaguars are going to be drafting so that they can get a good player. I got a news flash for you. All of that stuff that you used to look forward to, well, you're right in the middle of it right now. You don't have to look forward to it because you can look forward to it because you're actually in it. So whatever reason you had to do that in the past, the main reason was because the Jaguars were already done and out of it. They aren't now. They're still in the thick of this thing, and then they have a chance to really, really improve their position because they're going to get some injured players back, whether it's this week or next. I would expect at some point you're going to see Eric Murray, who came off of they opened his 21-day window off of IR. That's going to be a big addition, especially if they can get him back up to speed. They got Brenton Strange back. His play is going to continue to improve. The offensive line seems like it's getting healthier. I think Anton Harrison might be able to go and stand up and stand tall the way we used to seeing him play. And Ezra Cleveland has already come back, and I think he's working his way back in. It's still yet to be determined whether or not Brian Thomas Jr. is going to make a contribution anytime soon, but he would definitely be a welcome addition, especially with opening things up down the field. And sometimes when you get a chance to sit and watch, it actually helps you, even though sitting and watching because you're injured, you can still mentally understand that, okay, I don't have to go out here and save everybody. I can just go and be a part of what they're doing. So, yeah, with Trayvon and Jordan Lewis, as well as Eric Murray on the defensive side of the ball, they got Devin Lloyd back, of course, a few games back, and he's really, really started to pick up. And then they're getting Danny Strigo and BJ Green. They're getting these contributions from these other young players. So this team has changed a lot, especially defensively, since this season started. And I anticipate that when those people come back, it's going to be more depth. Injuries won't play a part of it. All of the excuses, any excuses they'll have for not being able to perform at a high level will be going away. And then, come next year, I don't want to look ahead too much, but you'll get Travis Hunter back and Caleb Bransaw, and then an entire free agency period along with draft picks. So the future is super, super bright, but you don't have to look too far. You can stay, involved right now from a day-to-day aspect that the Jaguars have some blue sky in front of them. And it gets even bluer if they go win this game and move their record to 8-4, because I believe if you get to 10 wins, you're going to make the playoffs. I think if the Jaguars can get to 11 wins, and need I say 12, if they go 5-1 down the stretch, if they get to 12 wins, they'll probably win this division because they're right behind the Colts. They're one game behind the Colts with 2 games to play. Win the division, and you probably host a home playoff game because there's a chance that the 2 teams that'll get a bye, you win the division, you will host a home playoff game. It'd be interesting to take a look at who that'll be, because it'll be with Denver or New England getting a bye. Therefore, the Jaguars will be the 4 seed, and they will play let me see, how does this go? Let me see. 2 plays 7, 3 plays 6, and 4 or 5. So they'll play the best wild card team, whoever that will be. So that looks like, if I had to guess, let's say the Jags win the division, it'll probably be the Colts. The Colts or the Texans. If the Jags make it and Baltimore or Pittsburgh, one of them will win that division and the other team won't, I think Cincinnati is too far back. It could be the Chargers. I doubt if the Chargers will be the highest of the wild card teams. It'll be probably Buffalo, assuming that the Patriots and the Broncos both win their divisions. the Jaguars win the South. And one of those teams that's limping home right now wins the North, and the other one doesn't make the playoffs. So let's just say two wild card teams come out of the West. It could still be Kansas City, but they're reeling right now. They lost 6 games. So it could be them. It could be the Chargers. It could be them or it could be the Chargers. I think that's it. It's either them or the Chargers. It ain't gonna, damn sure ain't going to be the Raiders. And then when you flip it, Buffalo and in the East, and then one of the teams from the South. So there may be 2 teams from the South, 2 from the East, 2 from the West, and 1 from the North. So I'm just trying to pinpoint who the Jaguars could possibly play. But either way, the fact that we're having these conversations 13 weeks in, man, tells you that things have really, really changed. And you know who else has changed? Jaguar fans, because there are a lot of people that at the beginning of the year, whenever I would criticize or say anything, the first thing they would say is, man, this is way better than we expected it to be. We'll be fine. Nobody thought we'd be in this position. This is cool. You know, they're improving. They're getting better. Who would have thought after 5 or 7 weeks that they'd be where they are and all of that? That stuff has gone out of the window now. All of that we just happy to be here stuff has moved and it's gone. And I'm glad, because to me, it's a lame, apathetic way of looking at things. Why can't you be greedy? Yeah, they're 7-4, and I keep saying they should have been 9-2 because it'll put you in a different category, in a different situation. And that's just the way that I always look at it. Yeah, we're good, but for some reason I look at it like a coach or an owner. Yeah, I can tell you 2 things. It's almost like your kids, man. When your kids do something and you get on them, and then you go in the room with your wife and y'all talk about it. You say, "Yeah, we did that when we were little. It ain't that big of a deal." Yeah, but you can't tell them that. Because when you tell them that, then they'll say, you need to make them think that this is the worst thing they could ever do so they could correct it. You don't want them thinking, yeah, my dad did this before and it ain't no big deal. That's the kind of stuff grandparents do. Now, I'll do that now as a grandfather if my son gets mad at my grandson and he come over there pouting, and I'll be like, you know what? Your daddy did the same thing when he was little. It'll be all right. But it's not the dad's place to sit there and tell the kid that. The dad's supposed to be angry because you know more and you know better. And you want them to be better, and you want them to do better. You want them to make good choices. That's how I feel about this football team. So I'm glad the attitude now is everybody's saying, wait a minute, we got a shot to do something good. Let's just go grab it and go get it. I'm not going to sit there and be satisfied with 9-8 when this team could possibly win 12 or 13. Why would you do that? It's because you got this, this thing about the past. And that's what I said. We need to kind of put the past away. And I know it sounds like I'm being a hypocrite because I just sat here and said you need to pretend that Eddie George and Frank Wycheck, all those people I just mentioned, that they're on the other side. If that's what it takes to motivate you, I'm telling you that to make you win. I'm not telling you to look into the past and accept losing. And see, those are the 2 different things. That if you're using the past to motivate you, fine. But if you're using the past as an excuse or a reason to excuse something that could happen bad for the Jaguars, like if they lose this game, oh man, who'd have thought we'd have been in this position at 7-5 coming into this year, man? I think we'll be okay. No, I'm gonna be upset because they lost to a team that only has 1 win. What are you talking about? You're supposed to be angry. You're supposed to be upset. Remember, this thing is about winning the day. You can't win the week if you don't win the hour. And then win the day. And then when you win the day, you win 2 or 3 days. And then you win the week. And then you string 3 or 4 weeks together and then you win the month. That's how this works. You win what you're supposed to win. And then everything else that you're supposed to battle for, you battle for. So, but I do see as an overall, from a macro perspective, I see a lot of Jaguar fans that are totally different and not being satisfied. And I think that's a good thing. Part of the reason, too, happened because of the roller coaster nature of this team. This team will drive you crazy. They absolutely drive you crazy while you're watching the game, and then they'll win it. And you'll almost feel like, well, damn, did I win or did we lose? No, you won. You won ugly, but you won. And I'm seeing more and more people that just don't care about that. Now they're keeping an eye on the future because you absolutely have to play better. And that's why I want to talk about setting the tone for the stretch run and why I think if they go up here and beat the Titans like they stole something, that it'll start setting the tone for the stretch run. Like, look, we know who we are. We know why we know what our why is. And our why, in our why and in the explanation for who and what we're going to be, ain't no room for the Titans to be beating the Jaguars. And they got to play them two more times. They got 4 games left, 2 against the Titans, 2 against the Colts. And I think they can win both of them, especially with the Colts being banged up at quarterback. I wish they would put Anthony Richardson out there. So we'll talk about setting the tone for the stretch run. And then what they play the Jets, that they should win that game too. But what if they actually go out to Denver and beat the Broncos as well? You really serve notice. I know I'm asking for a lot. Just hanging there with me 1 minute. I'll get back to it. Third final segment here on a Friday edition. Good Friday. Locked on Jaguars. All right, thank you for joining us here on Locked On Jaguars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. It is not Good Friday. Good Friday is I think that happens around Easter time. But this Black Friday, whatever that is, every Friday, Black Friday for me, because I'm black, and when it comes Friday, it's Black Friday. That's just the way it is. But the Jaguars have a chance to really, really set the tone for their stretch run. Ain't nobody going to, line up at the airport when the plane lands and go to the stadium and have a vigil at night if they come back from beating the Tennessee Titans, because the Titans are awful. They're terrible. They're all doing the crossover. Tyler Rowland as much as said that. He said they're awful. They're bad. It would make their year if they beat the Jaguars in these last 2 games, knowing what Jacksonville has on right in the palm of his hand. The Jaguars have it right in the palm of their hand. They can, they're in control of their own destiny and can get into the playoffs in Liam Cohen's first year. I think this sets a tone, though, when you go out, if you hammer a team that ain't good. The Jaguars beat the hell out of somebody a few weeks back, and it felt good. It was the Chargers. And that was a pretty good team. They're still in the playoffs, but it just felt good for them to go out and wipe the floor with somebody. Now they struggled against the Raiders. And some people can say they probably should have lost the game. Struggled against Arizona. It was setting up to look like they were about to lose that one too. So that's the roller coaster part that I'm talking about. I just hope we look up Sunday and the Jaguars up 28-0 at halftime, and they're doing what good teams do, and that is dispatching teams that shouldn't even be in the same stratosphere as them. Because what that does is that lets people know that they're self-motivated, and it also serves as, look, we got enough tough games down the stretch, and the games are going to get even tougher. The ones that aren't tough, the easy ones, the layups, we need to win them. We need to win those games. You got to hit your layups. Don't play with your food. You might not know when you're going to get another meal. So if somebody puts a hot meal in front of you, you wear that plate out, because you know what? That's going to be fuel that you're going to need for later on. And you don't know the next time you're going to even have an opportunity to get something to eat. So the Jaguars got to eat. They got to win this game. You know what them dudes be doing, that little thing when they say, feed me? Yeah, that's what I want to see them doing. It starts for me with the run the football. Usually up there in Tennessee this time of year is nasty, kind of wet, kind of foggy. Some people say it look like that all the time up there, and that's cool, but just run the ball, man. Run the ball down their throat. They can't stop the run, even though they got good players, but they can't stop the run. It's probably because they're so afraid of teams hitting them over the top with big plays. And I think the Jaguars will get their share of those too. I don't want them to be loosey-goosey with the ball, and then little tip balls start happening, and then because of inclement weather, they start playing this nasty, ugly game. The last thing you want to do with a bunch of pigs is get in the pig pen, because you get dirty. Don't play this game on their terrain. Don't do it. Don't let them suck you into making this game ugly, because they won 1 game, so they're having an ugly season. They would love nothing. They would love to show up at your wedding in a muddy suit and give you a hug and make your tuxedo dirty. Don't do it. The only way that they can beat you is if you allow them to lure you into that dark alley. That's the only way that you won't have success if you're a Jaguar. And if you're a part of this team, and then you end up trying to fight your way out of it, right? And even if they win and they fight their way out of it, and we come on here and do our post-game show like we will this weekend, and then it'll be a win that still feels like a loss. And that is exactly what you don't want any of this to be. You just don't want it. I don't even want to have those discussions. I want to have the on to whoever we play next after that. I think it's the Colts. I'll check the schedule real quick. Whoever the Jaguars play next week, I'll get my executive secretary to look up and see who the Jaguars play next week. Whoever they play next week, that's the game I want us to be talking about. I want to talk about what went right on the first half of the post-game show, and then the second half of the post-game show, I want to look on to the next team and talk about where the Jaguars are now in the pantheon of the playoff picture after Sunday's game. I don't want us to sit there and be talking about how they almost lost and things that they got to clean up. If we say we got to clean stuff up one more time, I'm going to go crazy. We know we got to clean stuff up. We see the mess. I'm tired of talking about things that they have to clean up. I want to talk about how well they played and how good that bodes for the future. So I do believe that they play the Colts. I guess I can look it up real quick. No, they play the Titans tomorrow. I know that, executive secretary. I'm talking about who they play after. It's the Colts. See, there you go. I'm in this hotel room. I got to make my executive secretary get busy. And she over there being wrong. I can't fire her now. It's an act of Congress for me to get rid of my executive secretary. Plus, I don't want to get rid of her because she's fine too. But my thing is, you got to get this stuff right. You had one job to do, mama. So, yeah, they got the Colts after this week. That's what I want to be talking about when I'm probably get punched in the eye. The next time y'all see me, my eye gonna probably get swole, but that's all right. But look, yeah, just win this game, man. Remember the Titans. Remember all of that stuff they did to us back in the day, and I want you to bust them in their mouth because I can't stand them. Liam Cohen said Tony Baselli told him when he took the job how big that rivalry is. Good. I hope he told you because y'all need to go up there and handle your business. All right, catch me Sunday. Immediately about 15 minutes after the game, post-game, we'll do a post-game. I'll holler at you too right before kickoff, maybe an hour before kickoff with a short and tell you things that I'm looking forward to for the game. And, of course, we'll have an immediate reaction and then the post-game. And then I believe me, O'Brien, and Marquise Ogden, we're going to do the squad show also. Make sure you tap into that. Tap into Locked On Jaguars and then catch me on Locked On NFL. I'm all over the place. Jobs everywhere. I'm grateful, though, man, and I'm grateful for y'all joining me here today. We don't take you for granted. Thank you so much for being here with me on Locked On NFL. Enjoy the weekend and enjoy Sunday's game. Happy belated Thanksgiving. We'll see you.